Well, hey there, everybody. It's Chris from the Rate the Record podcast. And oh my goodness, it's that time of the week again, isn't it? I have 3 songs for you, and I'm going to tell you all about them, how I feel about them, and whatnot, because it's time for that new music review, that thing we do every week. Well, I'm rambling. That means it's time to start. I'll meet you over there. So first up, we have the band Dead Cross. They are a hardcore punk supergroup consisting of Mike Crane from Retox, Justin Pearson from The Locust, Dave Lombardo from Slayer, and of course that one guy we just can't get rid of on this show, Mike Patton. They have a brand new album on the way on October 28th, just called 2, or as far as I can see on their Bandcamp, it's just called 2. And the track that I'm looking at today is Christian Missile Crisis. So first off, hell yeah! This song starts off really well on some like old school kind of slightly thrashy chugging guitars. Like, I'm all here for it. And the production even sounds old school itself, like an old school, like, 80s metal kind of tune. Down for that too. It's really cool to hear Justin Pearson do vocals in the verse. I love the ballistic and chaotic nature of The Locust, so I mean, his voice is just comfortable in my head. As uncomfortable as he can sound. I like the back and forth of the chorus with the vocals and everything like that. I think that's really cool. And as much as there is some grimy layering to this track, I feel like there isn't too much going on, so that way you're not getting easily distracted, let's just say that much. But it is enjoyable. There's a slow chugging middle in there, which I thought was a really nice touch. It's still really heavy and dirty, but it's a really good anchor for the speed. Personally, I found it kind of weird that Mike Patton's vocals are like the most polished thing about this track, considering, as I said, everything else is kind of like got that raw, grimy feel to it. Sometimes it stands out just a little too strong, so it is kind of an odd insertion, or at least it feels like an odd insertion. But hey, to hell with that, because overall, this track slaps, it smacks, it punches, it drop kicks, it headbutts, it knees you in the groin, it tackles you, it stomps, it's great. You just got that old school crunchy production that makes it a lot of fun. I say check this one out. Scuttling on over to the second pick of the week now, we have Filter, the alternative / industrial rock band out of Cleveland, Ohio. Richard Patrick, frontman of the band, actually used to be a former Nine Inch Nails member way back in the day. I'm obliged to say that because of how much of a Nine Inch Nails fan I am. He started this band after leaving Nine Inch Nails, and he actually made some pretty good music in the 90s, despite the fact I haven't heard tons of Filter. I have liked what I've heard in the past. Today's track, For the Beaten, comes as the first single to the upcoming album. They've got us right where they want us, at each other's throats. Or as I so, warmingly call it, to gurwatu out. Catchy. So the intro immediately blasts you in with these heavy pounding drums and super low tune guitar, or what I believe is a guitar. It could just be digital noise for all I know. The whole thing sounds like nu metal mixed with dubstep. And before I say it, no, I have not heard that Korn and Skrillex album that was released 10 years ago or something like that. I just can't bring myself to do it. So this song kind of feels like it splits off into 2 different directions. The previously named new dub metal step or whatever the hell genre is happening with that Skrillex and Korn mix. And then you just have this straight up airy but still pretty heavy alt rock sound. Not that it's a bad thing, it just feels a little uncertain on where it wants to land. I think that the vocals in the chorus probably could have been done just a little bit better. It's pretty one-note and actually gets really easily buried underneath this jam-packed production. But honestly though, the intensity in Patrick's voice, I mean, it's still pretty good for a guy in his mid-50s, so hey, way to go, keep at it. I mean, as long as you can, right? Overall, it's not really a terrible track or anything, it just feels a little oddly put together. Like the heavy new step dub metal parts, again, mixing genre, woo, creative. You have those parts in there and, they just kind of add an edgy effect, I guess is the best way to describe it. But hey, I will check out the next single, I mean, whenever that may be, because we got a while to wait for the album. And finally on the list, we have the band Birds in Row, a hardcore / post-punk band out of Lavelle, France. So I've never heard of these guys before, so what better way to give them a chance? I mean, that's kind of what this show is in a way, although we do some big name artists. I like to pick out a lot of unknowns every once in a while, or at least bands I haven't heard of. Didn't mean that to sound rude, I apologize. They just dropped a brand new album called Gris Klein, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm not even certain, and the single we're looking at is Water Wings. I'm pretty sure I said that part right. I guess with how the first 2 tracks started, I was expecting another explosion of sound, especially considering I read the label hardcore punk / post-hardcore. like in their title and everything like that. So I expected something big, but instead we're kind of greeted with like these airy pizzicato guitar plucks, probably looping, but I don't know. It's a good way to start the track, I suppose. You know, realistically too, you can probably label this band as a like melodic hardcore because they have this weird composition style of what you would hear in like the mid-2000s hardcore scene, mixed with like a lot of the melodic stuff that would come in like the 2010s and everything like that. So they definitely have a couple of handfuls of both, if you will. I'm doing this on webcam right where my breast would be, and I didn't even realize that until I was looking. Nice. There's a great energy being built throughout the entire verse. I love how like intense it all feels. And then you have these pre-chorus blast beats that like feed really well into a very loud and much wider chorus. I find myself like getting really easily into this one just for that alone. So hey, many points to that. The middle of the track really pulls back on the intensity a lot. I mean, like the drums kind of continue through as they have been so far, but then the guitars kind of switch it up to this like dreamy reverb layered guitar with like really fast speed picking and everything like that, so it just kind of adds a really great texture to the sound. And I mean, it's pleasing to have a moment like this, especially in a very heavy and fast song, so hey, I'm down for it. I feel like a good chunk of the second half of this track is what I can only describe as melodic hardcore shoegaze. I think that's kind of what I wanted to describe a moment ago, and that's the best thing I could come up with now. Like, imagine My Bloody Valentine, but heavier. Although I'm not comparing this to My Bloody Valentine, so the music nerds out there, please simmer down. I'm just kind of giving a visual here. There's a lot to take in while the song's kind of moving through into its everything, and it provokes like a lot of different really interesting feelings and imagery, but then the problem is that the song kind of just ends abruptly. I wish it had more of a fade or a ring out, so I don't know. It feels like I was just like suddenly woken up from a dream. Overall though, a decent track, a lot packed in just over 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I believe it was 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I would recommend this one, so hey, check it out. And there you go, 3 songs for you this week to check out, brand new ones, courtesy of yours truly. If you want to refer to me as that, you can just call me Chris if you want. But anyways, thank you very much for checking out these songs. I sure hope you did. And make sure, as always, you let me know what you thought of these songs down in the comments below. We always read the comments. We're always curious to know your opinion, so please go ahead and do that. You can also let us know over on our social medias at Rate the Record Podcast, over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikToks. Please go check that out and make sure you leave your comments there too. We check those, and all of that can be found at ratetherecord.ca. But hey, do you like content that we do that's not just the NMRs? Do you like the actual podcast? Well, unfortunately, the podcast is off this week. We did decide to just take a mid-season break, but no fear, there's plenty of content to go back and watch, and of course, there's going to be another podcast next week, but our most recent episode was the Red Hot Chili Peppers with 1 Hot Minute, so I suggest you go check that out. But if you are really starved for more new content, and you felt like supporting the channel, ko-fi.com/ratetherecord, you join the RTR Club for $5 a month. We just posted our first exclusive video. That's right, exclusive videos are finally happening. After all this time of promising, it's actually happening. And we actually took a look at the White Swans EP for Touch, Taste, Destroy. We're gonna have a lot of different content on there, not just like mini versions of Rate the Record. So hey, jump aboard and become part of the RTR Club if you want to see some exclusive content. And now that I've said a mouthful, I'm completely done here. So once again, thank you very much. Let me know what you thought of the songs. And hey, the podcast is back next week, so make sure you stick around to check that out. And so until then, go listen to some awesome music, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Take care, friends.